more Rebel Clash, let's look at an updated Toxtricity VMAX. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sable Eyes. I'm Mitch, and today we're going to take a look at another version of Toxtricity VMAX. We featured this deck in our build-up to Rebel Clash, and now that the cards are out, we thought we would take a look at it for you all on PTCGO. We'll definitely take a look at Dragapult VMAX soon, but everyone's talking about Dragapult VMAX, so we figured we'd give you something a little bit different for the moment, but that will definitely be coming up. So, Toxtricity is the deck for today. Let's take a look at the list. So here we are, PTCGO Toxtricity VMAX is going to be our focus today, and this Pokemon is really interesting. If you're not sure what it does, here's the rundown. We've got 320 HP, because we're a VMAX, we've got lots and lots of health, and then the main attack we're going to be using is G-Max Riot for 160 damage, which in itself is actually a relatively decent amount of damage, but if we have our opponent's active Pokemon poisoned, then we'll also do an extra 80 damage, so that can get us up to 240 pretty quickly. That'll knock out things like Pikachu Zekrom in one shot, so that's pretty solid, and we also get that extra tick of poison damage, so we can get up to 250. The key thing for us is that we can also use Electro Power with Toxtricity to boost that damage count up really high. So 250 can become 280, 310, 340 is the maximum amount of HP that the VMAX Pokemon have. If we get 3 Electro Powers, we can knock one out in one shot. And as far as I'm aware, I think Toxtricity VMAX is one of the only Pokemon that can actually one-shot another VMAX, apart from things like maybe Lapras, which we'll take a look at again later. So Toxtricity is going to be the key, but it does require a little bit of setup. We need to get 3 energy onto it, so how are we going to do that? We've got a lot of options. We've got the classic Tapu Koko Prism, which we can use to get Dance of the Ancients, but we also have the brand new Boltund V. We've got 2 copies of this in the list, 200 HP with 2 really strong attacks. The first one, Electrify for a single lightning. We can search our deck for 2 energy and attach them to one of our to any of our bench Pokemon, sorry, in any way we like. I've actually got to read the card, that would probably be a good idea. And then the second attack, Bolt Storm for a lightning and a colorless, does 10 damage plus 30 for every energy that we have in the field of play. So you can see this is going to kind of it's going to complement our Toxtricity really well. Our Toxtricity probably isn't getting it knocked out very easily. Boltund can use the energy that's on that Toxtricity to boost the damage to potentially do even more big damage from a basic Pokemon, that only gives up 2 prizes as well. So that's going to be really strong. It's also going to be our go-to in the early game to try and accelerate energy onto our Toxtricities. Now, I didn't mention Toxtricity itself. It's actually a pretty decent attacker of its own right, 210 HP. Poison Jab can poison our opponents. We can potentially use that to synergize with our VMAX, or we can just use Electric Riot for 3 energy, 90 plus 90 if our opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned, so 180 on a 2-prize attacker is pretty strong. Now, obviously we need to poison our opponent's Pokemon somehow. The way we're going to do that is through a 3-2 line of the brand new Garbodor. With Poisonous Puddle, we get to poison our opponent's active Pokemon if there is a stadium in play. So any stadium in play, we can just use Poisonous Puddle, our opponent is poisoned, and that's going to synergize nicely with our Toxtricity. We're on a 3-2 line because we only realistically need to have 1 Garbodor in play, but we do have to have 1, so we need to make sure that we've got the option there. If our opponent targets it down, we're probably going to struggle to take big knockouts. When it comes to other Pokemon to help us in our deck, we've got 1 copy of Zeraora-GX. We're going to use this for Thunderclap Zone to allow us to retreat our Pokemon freely. I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of our Pokemon have really high retreat costs, so we want to make sure that we can get in and out of the active without too much trouble. Full Voltage and Plasma Fists are both very serviceable attacks as well. Full Voltage could potentially get you out of a bit of a rut if you've lost lots of your energy, because remember, we don't have Pikarom to accelerate, so we're going to need to make sure that we've got some extra ways to get energy into play, although if we're doing well, we won't need to worry about Zeraora anyway. What else have we got? We got 2 copies of Dedenne. Beautiful Pokemon, this. Obviously, you want to use it in most of your decks. Dedenne Change is broken, so we don't really need to talk about that anymore. And to help us support. We've also got one copy of the brand new Eldegoss V, which has float up for 50. We could use it to shuffle this Pokemon and all energy attached to it into the deck, but we really just want to use Happy Match to get ourselves a supporter back from the discard pile and then utilize that supporter later in the game. So Eldegoss is going to be really good. He gives us essentially an extra copy of every single one of the supporters in our deck. When it comes to the item and supporter line, we've got a pretty consistency-heavy list in this one. We've got 4 copies of Quick Ball. We need to find those Trubbishes real quickly. We need to find Toxtricities to get the Toxtricity VMAX into play. And we've also got 4 copies of Pokemon Communication to help us search out Pokemon as well. There's no real need for Evo Incense in this deck. We've got enough Pokemon that Pokecom's going to be good enough, and Incense would only help us find 2 Pokemon. Although I will admit, Evo Incense finds the most important Pokemon in the deck, so it could be argued that it's better to use a couple of Evo Incenses in this deck as well. We also have 4 copies of Electro Power, which is what makes this deck so powerful. The ability to take one-shots on VMAX is due to this card, so we need to make sure that we run 4 copies of that. And we also run 4 copies of Acro Bike as well to help us draw through our deck to try and get to the stuff that we really, really need. When it comes to our stadium count, we've got 1 copy of Thunder Mountain Prism, which is an obvious inclusion for a lightning deck to reduce the cost of the attack by 1 lightning, but we also run 1 copy of Galar Mine, and this is an interesting one. It's kind of an interesting tech, because if we've got Zeraora out, then Galar Mine doesn't affect us. We have no retreat cost, so it doesn't matter how many retreat cost is on the card, we just have none. Zeraora says we have no retreat, we can retreat for free. So that means that we can potentially really hinder our opponent by locking something that they don't want active, or potentially stopping a half-hit Pokemon from escaping the final knockout. So Galar Mine could come in handy to help stop people from running away. And even if we don't have Zeraora in play, we have 3 copies of Switch as well to move in and out of the active, so it should be easy enough for us to move around. When it comes to the supporter line, it's a pretty self-explanatory one. We have 4 copies of Professor's Research, the best draw supporter in the game. Discard, draw 7. Then we've got Marnie for a bit of disruption draw. We'll draw 5. Our opponent will draw 4. And we've got 3 copies of the brand new Boss's Orders in order to gust up one of our opponent's Pokemon for free for using this supporter. This is a great supporter line. It reminds me so much of the old Sycamore or Juniper N and Lysander combo. It does everything that we need to do. We're going to draw cards, we're going to disrupt, we're going to be able to gust. It's perfect. I love it. Nothing that is, and obviously, if we need to gust 4 times, we can, because we've got Eldegoss, so it's easy peasy. And if we were looking for even more ways to draw cards, then we do have 4 copies of the brand new Speed Lightning Energy as well. When we attach this one from our hand to our Pokemon, we can just draw 2 more cards. So it's effectively like seeing 2 Acro Bikes when we're attaching an energy. Very, very strong energy for this specific deck. Rounding out the list, we have 7 copies of Lightning Energy. This is obviously important. We need to make sure that we've got basic Lightning Energy to attack. We need to search them out with Boltund, with Electrify, and we also need to be able to utilize Dance of the Ancients. So those basic Lightning Energy are going to be very important. Alright, so that's the list. We've pre-recorded a game for you. Thank you to Matt for doing that for me, by the way, for getting that list, that list and gameplay together. And we'll double check it now. I'm sorry for that. I wish I hadn't stuffed up right at the end. I would have been able to cut it out. But anyway, it's gameplay time. Alrighty, here we go. We've got ourselves a bit of a game coming up. We've lost the coin flip, which is disappointing. We're being given the first turn, so that's very kind. This is a bit of a rough opening. We've got a Trubbish to start with, and a Toxtricity VMAX, 2 Boss's Orders, an E-Power, a Marnie, and a Quick Ball. The Quick Ball is good. Looks like we're playing another Lightning deck here with Green's Exploration Tag Call. This could be Pikarom coming up here. But yeah, as I was saying, we've got Quick Ball, so we don't have a dead hand as such, but yeah, this could be awkward. We've got a couple of mulligans though, so that will help. We've got a Garbodor and an Electro Power. Okay, so this is really awkward now. Because we could Dedenne this hand away. We've got to play the Quick Ball, obviously, but I don't think we realistically want to. We could grab Boltund, I guess, to try and electrify early, but this is not a great situation to be in. I mean, we can play this one down. I think we're going to have to just pass this one here. We've got the Trubbish in the active. Oh, we probably should have just got Toxtricity V, so we could have organised our VMAX there, but it's okay, because we'll be able to electrify next turn, so not a problem. Our opponent opens Tapu Koko V, and they've got the Boltund on the bench now as well, so they're going to be able to start accelerating energy, and they've found Green's Exploration as well, so they'll be able to search out 2 cards of their choice from their deck, 2 trainer cards. I would think they're probably going to grab one of those tag calls that we saw before. They'll probably find themselves a Pikarom, and they're grabbing another Greens as well, so by the looks of it, it'll probably be a tag call for Pikarom, maybe a Alolan Raichu as well, if that is, of course, the deck they're playing. We are presuming here. There's a Pikachu Zekrom and a Cynthia Caitlyn. Okay, so they're giving themselves a bit of an option for draw as well if they need it. There's the Raichu already in hand. They've got the Boltund. This is a perfect start for them. They're going to be able to electrify here and accelerate energy onto their Pikarom. So that's really strong, and we are in an awkward spot here. We've got a Quick Ball, so what we could do here is we could evolve into the Garbodor, play the Quick Ball, grab ourselves a Toxtricity V, and then we've at least got Marnie. The worst part is we'll put this on the bottom of the deck, so all these cards are going on the bottom. We're not likely to be able to access those 2 E-Powers anytime soon, and we've already gone through 2 Marnies and a Boss's Order in this hand. And the worst part is when we Marnie here, we still aren't guaranteed to get out of the active. We need to find a switch, so hopefully we can get a Dedenne or just the switch here. Oh, this is actually really good. We've got Thunder Mountain, Switch, Energy, and Professor's Research, so I guess the question here is, do we want to give our opponent access to Thunder Mountain? Probably not. I'm thinking we're going to switch into this Boltund, and we're going to electrify ourselves, and there you go, we've managed to save ourselves from a bit of a dud hand here. We can't use Garbodor yet, though, because we haven't got the Stadium in play. So if we did choose to give our opponent that Stadium, then we could have potentially got some poison damage off, but it's not that big of a deal. And we don't want our opponent to be easily able to attack with Pikachu Zekrom here. The last thing we want is them taking 2 easy prizes. Okay, so I guess the situation is for our opponent, they're actually not in a huge amount of a rush here, but they do want to get a attack off with Pikarom pretty soon. You'd think the Full Blitz is probably the important thing for them this turn. So if they can get an attachment and then attack, they're going to actually Boss's Orders here, so they could bring out our Garbodor again. That's really annoying because we only have 3 Switch in the deck, so that is a bit of a pain. Now that Garbodor could potentially be stuck active, and we're seeing a Big Charm go onto that Pikarom, so looks like they're setting themselves up again here. Boltund getting a second Electrify off, and I guess the best thing for us is that they didn't have a manual attachment, which means they can't take a knockout. If they had knocked that Garbodor out, we could have been in big trouble. It looks like they're just going to be setting up a Raichu and potentially getting their Pikarom ready to go here. And just trying to decide where that second energy is going to go. Looks like it's going to go onto the Pikarom. Fair enough. Okay, so Boss's Orders. That is such an awful top deck. That Alolan Raichu on the bench is very frightening as well. We can E-Power here. I think we've got to play this Stadium down at this point, because we could potentially find Zeraora to retreat, so that could be good. We've got ourselves Toxtricity Vmax here as well, so we could evolve into that. Or do we want to? Do we want to hold on to it so we can use this Pokecom? That could be better, because we could Pokecom here, away the Toxtricity VMAX, attach the Lightning Energy to the active, and have the Zeraora on the bench. So that might not actually be a bad idea. What we'll do is, we'll shuffle that VMAX away, we'll grab the Zeraora here, and I'm actually thinking now we've got Thunder Mountain in play. We've already played an E-Power, haven't we? I think we've got the other 3 in hand. Let's have a think here. How much damage do we realistically need to do? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's going to be, what, 120. Plus 10 is 130. Plus the extra 30 from the E-Power we've already played is 160. If we play one more E-Power and then use Poisonous Puddle, we could actually knock out this Boltund this turn. So I think that's probably going to be the way to go. I didn't expect to be getting a knockout with Boltund this turn, but it's going to happen. So let's do it. We'll Bolt Storm. That'll do 190, and then the poison damage will tick across, and we'll get the knockout. So the first 2 prizes come our way, which I'm really happy about. We get a Pokecom and we get a Garbodor here. So that could potentially be our Toxtricity VMAX. And as long as we find ourselves in energy, or if our opponent keeps the Thunder Mountain in play, which it's in their best interests to do so, then we're going to be able to attack for a huge amount of damage this turn, 250, plus the Electro Powers. We could even knock out a Pikarom if it comes into the active. So I'm feeling like we're in a pretty good spot. Our opponent doesn't have a huge amount of cards in hand. They've got the powered Pikarom though, so they will be able to come in and full blitz. But to knock out this Boltund, they're going to need 2 Electro Powers of their own. So if they've got them, they've got them. But at the moment, it doesn't look like they've got a lot going on. There's no Electro Power in the discard pile, so they could greens for 1 or 2 if they need them. But you would think that if they had that, they would have done something already. It looks like we've got Tapu Koko coming down here. I didn't check how many energy they had in the bin, and the Quick Ball as well. So this Quick Ball will probably find a Dedenne, you'd think. I'll get rid of Tapu Koko. Oh my goodness, they're grabbing Boltund V. Maybe a no Dedenne. It is a greens deck after all. Maybe there isn't a single Dedenne in this list, and this could be a big opening for us. They're not going to be able to take a knockout. I don't think there's any way they could possibly do it, and we're going to be pretty much open to take this game by the scruff of the neck. I'm seeing the Tapu Koko pop just a single energy onto Boltund, so it depends on what our opponent thinks the best idea is. I'm not sure. I don't know. They could just go for the Pikarom here, and if they do, then we're going to be in a really strong spot. We'd have to hope that we unprize a draw supporter of some description, though, because we are running low. Okay, so they've full blitzed. So this is going to be really good for us. I think we've got all the things that we need to make sure that we get a knockout. Now, that's 240 HP on a Pikarom. We've got a speed energy here as well, so we can attach that to something and draw a couple of cards. 240 damage on a Pikarom, plus they've got that big charm, so that's 270. We're going to be able to do 250, so a single E-Power here from us is going to be able to get the knockout. I think we just go for the Toxtricity here. Like, we could potentially go for a Dedenne and try and draw into the Toxtricity again, but we've got it. We may as well use it. So I'm thinking that's probably the smartest play. We'll do that. We'll grab the Toxtricity Vmax. I think, yeah, it's going to be fine because we'll be able to take the knockout. We've got the speed energy. I'm just worried that we won't have a way to get out of the active when this Alolan Raichu comes forward, because it's going to come up at some point and paralyze me, and it's probably going to be right now. So we just need to be careful about that. We'll grab the Vmax because I think it is important that we take these last 3 prizes. So we'll chuck that down. We've got 1 Electro Power to play. I think we're going to play the Speed Energy first. You can probably attach it to Zeraora, actually, rather than Toxtricity. We've got the Thunder Mountain. We'll always give ourselves... Oh, we've got ourselves a Professor's Research. Okay, so this is perfect. We can Electro Power. We'll do it twice, why not? And then we can just research this hand away. There's no real reason to hang on to the Electro Power so much, because we're gonna be fine. It's not a problem. And yeah, this hand looks pretty good. We've got energy for next turn. We could potentially grab another Toxtricity, but we don't really need to. We've already got enough powered attackers floating around. And yeah, I think we're going to be good to go here. So as long as we get the poison right, we're going to retreat. Actually, could we knock this out with Boltund? We probably can't. We should retreat. We'll Poisonous Puddle, the active. That's going to do plenty. And then we're going to just be able to G-Max right. That'll take a knockout. That'll be a huge 300 damage onto that Pikarom. We'll take 3 prizes and be 1 away from winning this game. Another Speed Energy here coming out of the prizes. Another Lightning as well. And an Eldegoss. And that is so good, because that means now we are potentially going to be able to find one of our boss's orders if we need them. They could potentially retreat into the Raichu and Raichu to stop us from knocking it out with Toxtricity. But if we've got Eldegoss V, we can just take ourselves an easy knockout, and we'll have absolutely no problems here at all. Here's the Tandem Shock. We do need to find a switch. This is the key. We need to find a switch. We haven't got one yet, but we need to find one. So it depends on how we want to go about doing this, because, I mean, can we knock out this Raichu? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Lightning Energy in play. We're going to get rid of 2 off of this Tapu Koko, so that'll be 8. Right, and that'll be a ton of energy. We'll Quick Ball here, thin out the deck, because we do need to make sure that we get out of the active. We'll just grab, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. We'll just grab this Boltund, I guess, that's fine. Sorry, I lost train of thought. 8 times 3 is going to be 240 plus 10. Actually, so we could probably just get this knockout with Boltund. So as long as we give ourselves a chance to to get out of the active, we should be fine. There's a switch. Oh, we've got boss's orders as well, so we may as well just play out our hand. We'll switch into the Boltund here. We're going to give ourselves a Tapu Koko pop, and that's a ton of energy, so we can take the knockout on the active if we want, but we got the boss's orders, so we may as well just go for one of the guys on the bench, just in case my maths was slightly wrong. It's not, but just in case, we'll bring up the Boltund here, and Bolt Storm for a huge 250 damage. With the poison, we would have got the knockout, but there you go, that's how good Toxtricity can be. A little bit of maths at the end there, not necessarily my strongest suit, but we managed to get the victory, and we could see just how strong Toxtricity is once it gets rolling. It's very, very hard to take down, and Boltund is the perfect partner for it, being able to accelerate energy and to take big knockouts, just like we did in that game against Pikarom. So definitely worth a look. It's not quite as cheap as the deck that we had a look at yesterday, Flapple Sableye, but it is definitely better. It's definitely good enough to hang with the big boys at the top of the ladder. So if you're interested in pursuing those end of month goals, then this could be the deck for you. Thanks very much to Matt for recording that game for me, and thank you to you for coming along and watching. If you like the content and you want to see more, then consider subscribing. Click the button that's just about here to do that. Over here are some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, as well as a playlist down the bottom for more videos from our Rebel Clash series. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at @theSableyes_YT, and apart from that, we'll see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.